Deep in the mountains in Iran, there was a group of assassins known as the Hasan. They were a group of elite killers who would spend years gaining their target's trust before finishing them off. They would live with them for years, creating a bond and even becoming their closest friends before killing them in cold blood. The word assassin didn't exist before this group. The word was created because of them. It came from their name, the Hasan. They would have had countless opportunities to kill their targets, but the assassins had a trademark method for murder. They would kill their victims in the open, where everyone would see. This method is how they created their reputation that would terrify so many people. Imagine it. These assassins would spend years gaining your trust before killing you. They could be one of your closest friends. And this was a time when nobody really knew what a spy was. Nobody had ever heard of anything like this before. Imagine how the fear would build up inside you as you realized any one of your friends may just be waiting to kill you. The assassins followed a man known as the Old Man of the Mountain. He grew their reputation to the point where they were perhaps the most feared organization in Iran. The Old Man, Hasan-i Sabbah, founded the group in 1090. He established a hierarchical structure for the group. At the top was the Grand Master. Then, there were the greater propagandists. Below them were the propagandists. Next were the Rafiqs, or companions. And last, but perhaps most significantly, were the Lasiqs, adherents, or as we might call them, assassins. Sabbah used the group to advance himself politically and satisfy his greed. He was an intelligent, calculating man, and realized that their most powerful weapon was their reputation. With this in mind, sometimes the best method was to leverage this reputation to get what they wanted. They would sneak into people's rooms at night and leave a dagger or poisoned food with a note warning them that they should comply with Sabbah's wishes. When the Crusaders drew maps, they marched the Syrian coast as a country of assassins. And in a way, they were a country of assassins, known as the Alamut State. Named after the impregnable castle Alamut, shown here. The cliffside fortress was so sturdy, it protected them for over 100 years. They owned and operated a series of fortresses throughout Persia and Syria, and were surrounded by enemies. They somehow managed to maintain this precarious position and fight off invaders for around 150 years, until they finally encountered a force even they couldn't defeat. But we'll get to that later. The word assassin comes from the word hashashin, which means taker of hashish. It's possible that this drug may be what's responsible for the assassins' intense courage, which led them to even sacrifice their own lives for the state. Marco Polo revealed some insights into this. According to him, the leader would take men and drug them with hashish wine. After that, they would have every one of their desires fulfilled. This gained him such loyalty from the men, they would even lay down their own lives. This is how Sabbah recruited assassins once the group was already established. But he wasn't always the head of this group of well-trained killers. If we turn back the clock to when Sabbah was 17, we see a frail young man who almost died due to a wasting disease. This is when he became a devout believer in Ismailism. He began spreading radical ideas, which led to countless imprisonments. But his name started to spread, and he gained a small following. He managed to put together a group of outcasts like himself. They eventually grew into what we now know as the Hasan. While travelling, the group reached the fortress known as Alamut. and won over the city through psychological methods rather than violent ones, and converted the fortress to their beliefs. Sabbah had the amazing ability to bring people to his cause. People with that sort of magnetism are often some of the most dangerous. The assassins exerted much influence over the Middle East. Their first major assassination was the killing of Seljuk vizier Nizam al-Mulk. He held near absolute power. Killing him would send quite the message. The assassin who killed him disguised himself as a dervish, a religious man who lives a life of extreme poverty. A Hashashin dagger was found. The assassins grew in power and influence, gaining more and more fortresses as time went on. They were hired by different kings and lords to kill their political opponents. Even the powerful Saladin had his own dangerous encounters with the Hashashin, when two men were caught trying to kill him, and under torture, revealed they had been sent by the Hashashin. Saladin only survived because he slept in a wooden tower and was never alone. It seemed that no one had the power to destroy the Hashashin, until the invasions of the Mongol Empire. The Hashashin had 50 fortresses at this stage in the mid-1200s, and were strong enough to be an obstacle to the Mongols. Möngke Khan knew he had to crush them in order to move forward and continue his invasion of the Abbasid Caliphate. Möngke sent his brother Hulegu to dispose of the Hashashin. The first attack on them started in 1253 AD, and the Mongols took many fortresses before arriving at Alamut. An outbreak of cholera had weakened Alamut's defences, but reinforcements managed to make it in time for them to repel the Mongols. After this defeat, the Mongols sacked the towns of Tun and Tus in 1253. Later on, they managed to besiege Alamut again, and this time they won. It devastated the Hashashin, and they lost most of the political power they once had. The group was so weakened that it eventually disappeared.